Allies win this battle. Our defenses in the sector are holding up well.
Season 2, Master of Arms introduced a bunch of new weapons for Battlefield 2042 if we take the new Vault weapons into account. One of the new weapons did quite mark from the start, even though it wasn't working properly. Not until now. Meet the Avancys. A LMG, which is more of an assault rifle with a ridiculous amount of bullets. Right from the start, most players agreed it was good, but even as some complained about it being overpowered, others were annoyed about the bug, making it way less powerful than it should have been in the hands of good players. In this video, I'm going to break it down so that everyone can understand what the problem was and why so many were upset about it. I'm also going to clear out how good it really is and what its weaknesses is, so you can either exploit it or avoid it. I'm of course saving that for last, but if you want to check it out right now, you can use the chapters on the timeline below. Otherwise, keep going for some history, tips for how you should set it up and more. If you've seen my video about the S-Fire in Battlefield 2042, you might remember the Belgian manufacturer FN Herstal. Well, they have done it again. This is another of their weapons in the game. How I scrambled the name Avancys remains a mystery to me, but on the other hand, FN Evolys isn't exactly your everyday name of a weapon, is it? The Evolys is a truly new weapon, probably one of the most modern to be featured in any game. While the teaser for the weapons was released about 1.5 years ago, the revealing of its name was just about 1 year ago. The trademark of FN Evolys was even filed about the same time as the teaser were released. I mean, I'm quite stunned to see a weapon that new in Battlefield 2042, although it certainly fits the bill of near future. In Battlefield 2042, the Evolys is pictured as a LMG, but in real life it is considered a general purpose machine gun and is designed to be lighter and more ergonomic than other machine guns such as the FN Minimi. The construction is made using a 3D printer and polymers to help reduce the weight. At only 5.5 kilos, the weight is about 30% less than the common competition. It can handle a number of different calibers such as 5.56 NATO, 7.62 NATO, 6.5 Creedmoor and even 260 Remington in potential Special Forces variant. Being such a new weapon, the uses are few and to my knowledge it has never seen any real action. The French Special Forces use it according to a number of sources, but it's unclear if it's for testing purposes or if it's actually a standard issue. Considering that the only other current uses are the British Army for testing purposes and the US Army as part of their next generation squad weapon program, it's most likely only for testing purposes right now. Back to the world of gaming and Battlefield 2042. I'm actually going to start by pointing out a weird thing. In Battlefield 2042, reloading the Avancys is probably the most lengthy single task you will ever do in a game. It takes forever. It seems to be super complicated, and if you're under fire you are very likely not to survive. That is, according to many sources, not true about real life, as reloading the Evolys is a simple task, done fairly swiftly. The system is even that clever that you can do it just as easy using the right hand as the left hand. How about that, huh? But then again, balance is key, and since you pretty much never need to reload anyway, I guess I let it slide. Having played the Avancys for some time, I can now start to see when I'm growing a little bit tired when I play. Usually I go through this cycle where I'm not really warmed up and the horizontal position isn't perfect. Rather quickly though, it turns into a laser, which is effective at medium and to some extent both short and long range. Sure, facing up a K30 is usually not a brilliant idea, but utilizing the fact that I have 200 bullets, which works wonders by just keeping your fingers pressed, I can use covers in ways that forces the opponent to walk into my sustained fire. However, after a few hours I usually notice that I really need to work to keep the recoil down, almost like a bit fatigued. Point is, there is some recoil on this weapon. It doesn't bounce like crazy, but it's definitely there. The best approach is of course to handle recoil, compensate it manually. Given time and not so tired, this happens automatically for me, and you can probably do just the same. Should you however find the recoil too hard to handle, then you need to start looking at other grips that enables less recoil. The big mag size of the Avancys is great, and you should really avoid reloading unless you are coming down to maybe 30 bullets or so. I have never really liked the proning while firing thing. In, for instance, Battlefield 5 you had to do it or your LMG wouldn't even hit the stadium wall. But in 2042 that is fine. Unless you have a tripod, there is little to gain from proning, and since you are quite vulnerable when playing with your toy on the ground, you should just avoid it. Instead, be mobile when using this weapon and find creative flanks to mow down the enemy team. The Avancys can be set up in a number of different ways depending on the personal preference, but here is what I think makes most sense. My general theory is to set it up for short to medium range with some oomph on long range as well. For very close combat, hipfire serves, but otherwise it's generally speaking adds. Using a holosight is very much personal preference, but there isn't really any point with a lot of zoom that slows down time to adds, and a simple holosight allows for plenty of awareness. Add the tactical compensator for improved accuracy, which I normally use for most followed weapons. But this is also one of the things that can be adjusted if you struggle to control the recoil. The laser sight improves the hipfire, and since recoil control and accuracy is quite fine by me, the improved hipfire is actually a nice choice. Finally, as many bullets as possible, standard issue 200 bullets, where 10 or 20 is usually enough to kill one enemy. There are weapons that are more capable in specific situations, but currently the overall top weapon could very well be the Avancys. My friend asked me the other day, so DICE fixed the headshot multiplier for the Avancys, but does that really matter? I'm going into the gritty details here a bit, but it will explain why this is such a big deal, and it won't take long. In patch 2.0, DICE made adjustments for the headshot multiplier for both assault rifles and SMGs. Before, both were set to 2, which 20 damage at that distance, a hit in the head would instead do 40 damage. You follow? The change of multipliers on assault rifles from 2 to 2.15 and for SMGs from 2 to 1.25 was made to balance weapons. Especially the K30 was, and still is, quite insane, but because of the nerf, the effectiveness at range has been decreased a lot. On the other hand, the assault rifles have become even more viable. What was the problem then? For whatever reason, both the AM40 and the Avancys used the SMG multiplier, meaning that you could actually hit 3 times in the head with the Avancys without killing, depending on range of course. The fix means that the Avancys started at only 1.25 as headshot multiplier, but now is corrected to 2, as it categorizes as a LMG in Battlefield 2042. So what about my friend? Is he unaware of all this? No. The question that I really asked was, are you a body shot bandit? Well, are you? I find it fairly easy to hit heads with the Avancys when at my A game, so yes, it makes a heck of a difference. And with the new sound for headshots, well, everyone should cry every time they kill without the headshot. Hey, you promised to say something about the weakness. Come on, dude. Oh my, I almost forgot. I've been talking for so long. Well, the biggest weakness of the Avancys is the time required from sprinting to fire. Like the other LMGs in Battlefield 2042, there is a time penalty, which isn't super long, but it can easily result in a swift death by K30. Also, the fire rate is inferior, so you are quite susceptible to close combat weapons, especially if you storm in shouting Leroy Jenkins. Okay, so I need to camp. No, never. Camping is dead boring, it's for... no. But it means that you need to be thorough using pre-ads. Basically, stop a little and go ads just as you go around the corner. The easiest is to slide around and be ready, but that isn't always such a good choice as you're committing the move, unless you're playing Mackay. If you don't slide, you need to time it a bit more. Go ads too soon and you move around the corner at a very slow pace, giving the opponent the time to kill you. Basically, you're just feeding. Go ads too late and there is a great risk of a nasty surprise as you can't start fire fast enough. Well, there you go. Make sure to be prepared when you go around the corners and play smart. If you do, the Avancys is a seriously solid weapon which you rarely need to reload. That's all for today, folks. Fire first and click heads. Cheers!